I'm back. Hooray for the modern miracles of the internet. So apparently connection isn't real great today because of the rain. So hopefully I'll be able to get through the rest of today's topic. And if not, then thanks for watching now, and I'll continue it next week when maybe I have better connection or later in the day or something like that. So as I was heading into talking about Raja Yoga and those 8 pieces of the pie, and they're equally as valuable. So one's not more important than the other, although you will find that here in the West especially, we tend to focus a lot on asana, on the yoga poses. And you know, guys, I'm going to scoot just a little bit because I'm getting that weird light like right on my nose. Let's see if that's a little bit better. There we go. So in those 8 pieces of the pie, we have the yamas, which are how we interact with the world. There's 5 of them. Then there's the niyamas, which is how you interact with yourself and with that which is greater than us. There's also 5 of those. Then we have asana, the moving around part that a lot of us are familiar with, and that's the physical stuff. And the physical stuff is super valuable. It does all kinds of wonderful things for us physiologically. Pranayama, which is the breathing. I touched a tiny bit on that last week if you're interested in learning about that. Pratyahara, which is withdrawal of the senses, and that one's pretty juicy, and I'm going to hang on to that one for a future topic because it's there's a lot going on there. We have dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, which are concentration leading into meditation as the last pieces. So today we're going to just hang out with the yamas, that very first piece of the yoga pie, and the very first one. It's telling me connection is weak again, you guys. If I get ditched, we'll probably hang out until I can do this more smoothly later, but we'll see if we can get into it. So the very first yama is the very first yoga practice, and that is ahimsa. So way back in the day, there was one teacher and one student. I told... Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm making that annoying sound, and it's like I'm connected, I'm not connected, I'm connected, I'm not connected. We'll see what happens. I'm surprised. My husband's in the background. Say hi, honey.
Hello.
Okay, he's such a dork. I'm surprised he's not already making comments about me making crazy sound effects for you guys. So, back in the day, one teacher, one student, and you learned the Yoga Sutras, which I've also talked about in some of my previous episodes, especially 1, 2, and 3. You learned them one at a time, and you were to master each one before you moved forward. So the very first yoga practice is ahimsa, and that means non-harming or non-violence in thoughts, words, and actions. I'm not a big Sanskrit scholar, so if I mispronounce any of my words, I definitely apologize for that. But I do know that in Sanskrit, when a word starts with that A, the ah, that means no or not. So ah means no or not, and himsa means harm or harming or violence. So we've got non-harming or non-violence in thoughts, words, and actions. I first came across this concept of ahimsa maybe something like 18, 19, 20 years ago. So it's been a long time, and I'm a completely different human being now than I was when I first learned about ahimsa. And so that's what Empty Buckets Overflow, my book, is all about, is how over a long time, yoga really changes you from who you are to who you were meant to be. And so when I tell you this story right now, for those of you who know me now or who have just recently met me, you're probably going to be like, that can't even possibly be you. But trust me, this is true. When I first learned about ahimsa, and the teacher in the yoga class said, it means non-harming, I was like, oh, that's great. I don't hit people. And so that clearly makes me a non-violent person. And then she talked about your thoughts and your words. And I was still like, I'm really nice. I already got this down. Yeah. But then she went and said it's about when we're learning ahimsa, the very first thing we have to do, and I agree with this, before we can be non-harming out in the world, is we need to be non-harming to ourselves. And that key word is thoughts. It's so easy for us to appear as though we're being really kind and positive and upbeat to ourselves, and I was really like that. But my thoughts towards myself were horrifying, you guys. I mostly worked out at the gym and just went to yoga once a week. And I would get on the stair climber or the elliptical. And for those 20 or 30, it almost makes me sad now. For those 20 or 30 minutes, I would like literally have the most horrifying thoughts. I would tell myself how much of an, oh, I didn't use my adult language disclaimer, but just know that I was saying things like, you are such an hole and you suck and nobody's ever going to love you and you're so fat and you're so ugly and this is your punishment because you went to happy hour last night. And it was just, thank you, dear. Apparently that isn't true anymore. I don't believe that now, but when I first learned about Ahimsa, I honestly believed all of those terrible, terrible things that I was thinking to myself. And that's where Ahimsa gets really interesting and challenging, and really our first opportunity to move beyond the poses into becoming truly yoga practitioners is just to start to be aware of when that's happening. And it's not easy to stop, right? If you've got the crazy train of thoughts going, it's not like you're just going to hit the brakes and they're going to end. So your very first thing is to just become aware and acknowledge if you're doing it or not. And if you are doing it, like, don't start beating yourself up even more that you are. We're really trained in our society as women and men, I'm sure, but especially as women, we're trained to find everything that's wrong with ourselves. Especially with all of like beauty products and, lighting your teeth are the wrong color, your armpits are the wrong color. They even have creams for your lady bits because those are the wrong color. And so it can be so easy to get caught up in this constant beating yourself up. So first, just by becoming aware and recognizing that those thoughts aren't true. And that might take practice because, like I said, 20 years ago, to me, those like, you're an unlovable loser, those thoughts were true. I believed that. So it takes time to move away from that. Mostly by just catching yourself and saying stop, and not even trying to replace it with a positive that you don't believe yet, but just stop and distract yourself. Sing your favorite song, go read a book, call a friend, get outside, go wherever you need to go, or do whatever you need to do to distract your mind from those thoughts is honestly the best thing that you can do. And for me, it was going to a yoga class, because for me then and even now, yoga was a place where it didn't matter because nobody was really paying attention, right? When you're on your mat, you're just so worried about doing your own thing that you can't worry about anyone else. And I was really aware, nobody's worrying about me right now, so I don't have to worry about me. And then over time, you can start to take that ahimsa from your own thoughts about yourself into thoughts about others. But I feel like until we can get it really solid and honest within ourselves, we can't do that towards other people. And it's going to be a lifelong practice, you guys. Having non-harming thoughts towards yourself is something that you'll come up with over and over and over. Just like you're going to come up with downward facing dog, or some yoga pose that's challenging for you that's going to come up repeatedly. It's just an opportunity to practice and try again. So one more quick story, and then we'll leave Ahimsa with non-harming thoughts towards yourself for today. And I feel like there's so much with Ahimsa, and I'll probably come back to it many times on Mondays on the mat. But for right now, here's the other story I want to say. So now it's 20 years later. I'm getting that connection weak signal again. If I lose it, I'll tell you this story next time, and it'll be like a teaser, okay? So here we are, we're 20 years later that I've been practicing yoga, and I'm on vacation in Australia, like I said, in the first video that got cut off. So you kind of have to watch them side by side. And so we're on vacation, and there's been a lot of vacation food at Indian food with naan, and there was fish and chips, and there's been ice cream, and then there was homemade pizza for dinner with this amazingly good fresh pizza dough. And since there was pizza for dinner, there obviously had to be pizza for breakfast the next day. And so over the last week and a half, I've had more what I would call white flour than I've had in like 6 months. and I can feel it in my body. Like my fingers are kind of swollen, and my feet are kind of swollen, and I've got you can't see it, but I've got some bread belly going on down here. And I just, like yesterday, I just kind of didn't feel so good, and I knew it was because I was eating all of the white flour. And it would be really easy as a female in our society to go right into that, oh my God, I knew better, I totally suck, now I'm getting all chubby, my husband isn't gonna like me, and blah 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 blah. But instead I'm just going like, hey, we're on vacation. I feel a little bit vacation-y. You've still got 10 days to go. Do we still have 10 days to go? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think we have 10 or 11 days still to go. And so I'm just like, okay, guess what? The pizza and the naan and the fish and chips, and there might be a burger in there though. But I'll have it without the bun, right? But I just know, like, okay, the white flour party train just needs to stop. And in a day or two, that swelling and that inflammation from all of that is going to go away. And, like, great, move on. I did a really awesome 90-minute yoga practice on Yoga Glow this morning to kind of help flush my body. And that's what Ahimsa is all about. It's not about like ignoring or denying some of those things, but just being like, okay, I sort of got off my good train, and so I'm going to get back on it. And that's really what Ahimsa is all about. It's in the thoughts, oh, I'm getting off of my good train into crazy town, not true thoughts, and I'm just going to come back to something that's true. Or I'm going to just distract myself until I can get back into the truth of who I really am on the inside. And if you don't know who you really are on the inside, that's okay. When I get back into the States, I'm going to work on a program. I'm deciding between 3 and 6 weeks long that helps you figure out who you are on the inside. That's your soul purpose or your dharma. And when you know your dharma, it's so much easier then to not beat yourself up and to focus on living a soul-centered life rather than an external reward-centered life, I guess is a good way to say it. You guys, I love talking to you live. There's so much I want to tell you, and I wish I could dump like 20 years of knowledge and wisdom straight through the camera into you all at once. But since I can't, we're going to leave it today with that concept of Ahimsa, non-harming thoughts towards yourself. If you need support or you have questions or comments, put them here, shoot them to me through my website, or if you guys have my contact info, shoot it through me through my contact info. I would love to answer any of your yoga questions here live on Mondays on the mat. I know it's Sunday night at home, and it will be next week also when I come to you live from Brisbane. And I'm going to do it in the comments. I'm going to put a map of Australia so you guys can see where I'm at. But if you have questions or comments, not just about the yoga philosophy, but about the poses or anything else, please let me know so that I can answer you live. I'm also starting a YouTube channel where I'm putting all of the past episodes so that if there's a favorite one or one that you missed and you want to catch it, you can go over there to YouTube. The name of my channel right now is my name, Kathy Weiss, but I don't have a custom URL yet. I need 100 subscribers to get my custom URL. So, hey, please, hi Lisa, I'm going to talk to you a second. Please go subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can get my custom URL and make things easier for you to find. I miss you too, Lisa, and I was totally thinking about you when I was petting the bandicoots and all of those other things. I was like, oh my God, Lisa's gonna die because the bandicoots are just like so cute and fluffy. And when they ate out of my hand, it was like they were just so delicate. It kind of like tickled. I could have been there all day, except it was effing freezing, and I was like, my poor fingers were turning blue. So anyway, I'm thinking of you, and guess what, girl? We're gonna do arm balances when we get back in May, and I'm super excited because we just figured out recently how to get you a little more solid in your arm balances. So stay tuned for arm balances if you're in California. Stay tuned for next week's episode of Monday on the Mat, which is live from Brisbane, which is a 10 or a 12-hour drive north of Sydney. So we're flying from Adelaide to Brisbane, and it's like 2 or 2.5-hour flight. I'm not sure. I'll let you know. But thanks so much for tuning in, and yay to you, Lisa, for arm balances. I think that's it. I love you guys, and I appreciate you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next Monday. Namaste.